we're just about to wrap up the weekend with our final match of the day. But first, it is no coincidence that our in-game cameras managed to capture all the best moments on the Rift. There are people working hard behind the scenes to make sure that you don't miss a single kill.
I'm Martin Chanas, Unzo, former player from Alternate. We decided to choose that I be the main observer.
I'm Daniel Mio Holtus. I was a long-time SK player for RTS games. Basically, I tried to help Martin on directing the camera. For example, when the game starts, I check out the runes and masteries of the player to see if there are potential kills on top lane or mid lane.
In the beginning, it was really hard to predict how the players react on the team fights and on the lane. But game after game, I gained a feeling about how a player is playing.
We always have to stay concentrated. In case we lose focus, we might miss the action, and this action would be gone forever.
And I'm always excited when there is a new patch with the new champion, and I always see him the first time, and I always try to focus him, look how is he playing, if he's strong, if he fails. I really enjoy this job because it's something what I do in my privacy, and now I am the director of this.
Let's hope they have a lot of kills to focus on today, because it is time for our last match of the day and of the weekend, EG versus SK Gaming. So let's go over to Joe and Jason.
Thanks a lot, Shocks, and welcome back everyone to the Caster's Desk for our final match of Week 8 as Evil Geniuses take on SK Gaming.
Of course, these two teams just played last week, getting some major confidence boosts on the other opponents, but right now, this is a match they need to win. Both of these teams down towards the bottom of the table. EG could get propelled up the standings, or SK could get one step closer to being higher up in the standings into those top 6 places. And I want to see what's going to happen.
Well, let's take a look then at the lineups for this game. Starting with Evil Geniuses on the blue side. They are, of course, Wicked in the top lane. Shaka going to be playing jungle this time around. Froggen in the mid lane. Yellow Pete, the AD carry. And Crepo, of course, the support.
Of course, in that red corner for SK, Kevin in that top lane. Hercubot in the jungle. Ocelot middle. And Candy Panda and Nif is AD carry and support.
So let's have a look then at the voting from LolEsports.com. Jason, how's it looking for this one?
Well, 68% of the community think EG are going to win this game. I swear I can read. Are going to win this game. And, you know, after the way EG's been looking today, you know, previously, trying to get some much-needed wins, to be honest, I'd say that's about right. I mean, maybe a little bit closer because SK's been doing phenomenally well, but that's pretty good.
Well, we'll find out if you guys at home are right with that one. Evil Genius' first game of the weekend was absolutely fantastic, to be fair. They picked up another victory against Gambit to go 3-0 in that series. And earlier today, they picked up another win against Fnatic.
Yeah, and Evil Genius looked amazing yesterday with particularly focus on Yellow Pete. He changed up his champion pool a little bit, using Vayne for the first time this split, going 7, 0, and 5. And then Froggen was even let on Cassin again, where he finished off 10, 0, and 6. The way EG played that game was so calculated, as every engage they went for, they won in the game earlier versus Fnatic. They had a strong start with minor mistakes as the game went on, but they were able to close it out and take a great victory. And we can really see the impact that Shocker and Rated really had on the team, like what they've really brought, and EG's been flourishing from it.
So SK, on the other hand, started off Week 8 with another loss, and they were beaten by Alternate, which is definitely no shame in my opinion. I mean, they finished off our games last night by ending Lemondogs' 5-game winning streak. So, you know, not the best result on one side, and on the other hand, beating the top team in the league right now.
Yeah, it's really crazy like that right now. Any team can beat any team at this point. And honestly, one thing that I took from yesterday about SK was the lineup they used. It was focused around that Wombo combo in terms of Kevin was on Rumble, we saw Jarvan, and that whole combo can really work out well. I mean, they used it to their advantage the entire time in that champion select, but there was a couple of cases where they didn't have that Rumble ultimate available, and because of that, they were, well, unfortunately, they weren't winning the fights against Alternate, and they ended up taking that victory against them. But right now, they're up against Evil Geniuses. They played them so many times in the past. Currently, EG leads this series 2-1. And with this win, with how far they are, well, not how far, but where they are on the standings, SK needs to pick up this win to really balance things out, to maybe take it into that final game at the end of Week 9.
So there were some other things yesterday that really worked out nicely for SK Gaming. Of course, we saw them run that Ashe Zyra bottom lane, which led Candy Panda to finish the game 6-0-10 with Ashe. And Hercubot, again, bringing out the Xin Zhao, which is, you know, funnily enough, out of his top 3 played champions, the only one of them that he's actually got wins on. That's 6 games played with Xin Zhao, 5-1. No wins out of 4 on Jarvan, and no wins out of 2 on Udyr. So that just shows you that Xin Zhao is probably HercuBot's real go-to champion right now.
Yeah, there's a one fight at Dragon, I was thinking in particular, against Ultimate. That was just a fantastic ultimate. He spread everyone apart and pretty much knocked, I believe it was the support out of the pit into his own team for them to pick up a nice kill. Like, his Zen is very strong, and we look back to his spring split where he played still a lot of these same junglers. He was a lot more successful on like Volibear and Nasus, but he's really made his Zen really impactful in these games, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him play that again.
So the question for this one as well, obviously, a change for Evil Geniuses. Snoopy coming back into the team. We've talked about this countless times now, and this whole fluid 6-man playing roster that they have. Obviously, a 7-man roster, technically, if we count N-rated in there for that one, although he's not part of the actual playing team right now. Shaka is obviously a very different jungler to Snoopy, as the cameraman struggles to keep a hold on Shaka's head as he constantly peers over there to see what his teammate's doing as he gets ready to start off the game. But, you know, Shaka has shown time and time again, testing his reflexes to the max here. Shaka's shown time and time again for us that he is very, very aggressive.
Yeah, and the thing is, if he gets Elise, like, you're going to have to watch out for him. The plays he can make with that champion, I mean, the champion's amazing alone, but when he has her hands on her, it is just a completely different story. Like, it's even beyond that. And we saw that in his first game in Tenerife, actually pulled off the first blood in his first game on his birthday in LCS.
That's pretty big coordination of great events for him, right?
Yeah.
First game in the LCS, first game for EG, first for everything in the LCS on his birthday, where he just turned 17 and was actually allowed to play. Obviously, since the age restriction is 17 and above here in the LCS. So, you know, all that came together nicely for him. SK, though, on the other hand, we have to talk a little bit about them in this scenario as well, because Shaka isn't Snoopy and isn't the same kind of jungler as Snoopy. You have to wonder if that changes the game plan for them.
Yeah, and there's actually something I kind of want to talk about that's completely related to that. It's something that both these teams had problems with back in the spring split. We always talked about their identity back then. And Evil Geniuses, they've kind of finally come around to their own in terms of like when they play with a certain jungler, it changes their whole play style. They know who they are. And SK side, they've been struggling with that since, or actually they didn't struggle with it as much in the spring split, but in the summer split, I feel like they've been doing that where, you know, Ocelot was always a big playmaker in the spring split. But right now, you know, Candy Panda, he stepped up quite a bit. Nif has stepped up quite a bit. HercuBot and Kevin as well. So it's like their whole team, they realize, you know, the identity, it's not focused on Ocelot anymore. He's a great player, but, you know, we need everyone else playing at that same kind of level, and every single person of their team has been able to do that. And now they're up against, you know, Evil Geniuses with Shackers, so they kind of know what to expect from him, but it all comes down to their execution. Can they prevent his aggressiveness? Can they counter his aggressiveness with even the same thing? And only time will tell.
And we're seeing on your screens there too, I'd say different moods across the camps. SK Gaming looking really serious, determined right now. The mood in the EG camp, I think, a little bit lighter just because of this fantastic weekend that they're on a run of right now. And you know, with NIP's win, they actually moved up to 12 wins for 11 there, which means that EG are still technically ahead of Gambit because Gambit have lost one more game. So a win here would separate them away from Gambit in the table and bring them tied with Ninjas in Pajamas for that 4th spot, which is of course where they were before this, before that last game where NIP brought out a magnificent win against Meet Your Makers, who incidentally themselves will most probably be the biggest EG fanboys in Cologne right now because they need an EG win to keep up there with SK.
Yeah, and we have to see what's going to happen in this game. And, you know, I really wonder the pressure these teams are under, because when you're an established team like SK, like EGR, when you were in the World Finals last season, to not make it this time, like, how disappointing would that be to you when you've already played in the spring and summer split, how many weeks, how much time you've dedicated to this? And, you know, I would really hate to see either of these teams. I would hate to see any of the 8 teams we have in European LCS, because they've done so phenomenally well, not get into the playoffs.
Well, we'll find out who can pick up the points for the victory here in this one. And right now we see on your screen there Froggen, who playing Kassadin recently a lot and doing incredible things with it as well. I mean, just generally, I feel like Froggen has actually stepped things up somewhat. I mean, if you look at his old go-to champions that he's used this spring, this summer split, Anivia and Lux, they were, you know, his big two that everyone wowed at when you see that get locked in for EG. He's played 5 games between the two of them, not won a single one, which just shows you how he's really changed things around. And, you know, it's been a lot more Kassadin. He's played and has a 100% win record from 3 games with a Jace as well. So definitely a different Froggen that we're seeing in this summer split. But a Froggen that's right now bringing in the wins for EG as well.
Yeah, I'd have to completely agree. I mean, back in the towards the beginning of the season, he was a little cocky, I have to say, just in terms of his playstyle. Like, you saw him going for plays that he probably shouldn't have, that, you know, ended up with a death that maybe EG didn't need. But it seems more humble now. He's more reserved, like, especially on a Kassadin, when you need to know that line to cross and when not to cross it, in terms of going in, trying to kill someone and pulling away. And he's been able to balance that.
Well, let's have a look then. We are in Champion Select. Kassadin and Fizz banned out here for EG. Now, this is because of what SK do in the bans and picks, which is leave Ocelot's pick technically, usually until last. So Twisted Fate being taken out on the other side. They're going to get rid of Vayne, which has been, funnily enough, Yellow Pete's go-to champion as well for the last few games. Also on the other side for Candy Panda as well. So we're already going to see possibly a bit of competition for those AD carries in there. At least the final ban out for SK, and well, we all know why. Elise is just so very, very strong, and Shaka is a fantastic Elise jungler. Yeah, and with that banned out, we've only seen him play, I believe, Xin as his like next major champion, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them, you know, go with that just yet. But that Vayne ban, I mean, you're completely right. Yellow Pete plays it, but Candy Panda has a 16.3 KDA on it. He has 3 out of 4 wins with her. Like, they don't want to go up against that champion. And EG with this first pick, it seems like they should have expected this Elise ban, and yet they're just kind of talking things over. They're just making sure that they want to take this pick that they're going to go for, and they still have a lot of champions like Shen's open, Malphite's open, which Wicked's been straying away from lately. I'm not sure if I agree with the Zac first pick from this one. I believe Xin to be a more
higher priority
pick between these two teams, because Shaka, as you said, when he's not at Elise, fallen back into that Xin Zhao. Hercubot, out of his top 3 played junglers so far in the season, only has wins on one of them, that is Xin. So I think that's going to be possibly in the first round of picks here for SK, because EG have locked in the Zac.
And who plays Zac on SK? I don't remember Kevin or Hercubot ever playing him.
I believe Kevin has.
Okay, he has?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
which still is a minuscule in terms of the other stuff that he plays.
Exactly.
Elise, Shen, Kennen are his top 3 plays here, and there we see the Shen being hovered over here for SK.
And not to mention Rumble, which
and his Rumble, yeah.
We were all confused why we never saw it played, and then he showed us yesterday just how strong he still is on that champion. Obviously didn't win that game against Alternate, but he just showed like he is dominating with it, and I'm still surprised. And
especially since double AP comps are becoming more normal again as well from that one. So we'll have to see right now a Shen and a Zed. That was the 2-man kill team that NIP had set up in their last game against Meet Your Makers. See if SK can copy that.
Okay, there's no guarantee that Zed will be on Ocelot, though. I'm just thinking, because Kevin has played Zed before in the top lane, and also, just like you said before, usually gets that last pick for his team to kind of counter pick. So it's one of those champions that you can pretty much put in that mid lane or in that top lane. You have to be very careful of that. And Kevin, I mean, phenomenal Shen, but Hercubot, I guarantee he plays a strong Shen as well in that jungle.
What are EG going to go for? We saw them earlier on playing a Yorick, obviously with Wicked there, which for me is another thing you can work against Zed, because if you have the ultimate on your AD carry or whoever you want to go with there, and Zed bursts him down, then you still have him for the duration of the fight. It lasts long enough for that. So that could be an option for them either way, which would mean then that Zac would have to go into the jungle with Shaka. So we'll have to see about that one. Right now, they're just switching around a lot, so I don't want to comment on exactly what they're going to go for, but it will be actually Fiddlesticks and Varus locked in for EG.
Yeah, so Correct, he's been talking with us a little bit about his Fiddlesticks. Hasn't made it public just yet, but he's been saying he really enjoys that champion. It really fits quite a few roles, and when you pair that in with a Varus, like the ultimate of Varus comes down, free Fiddlesticks ultimate, you're going to kill that person with the fear, with the silence. And late game, when you have a Zed, if you catch him with a fear of silence, all that damage is gone. So it's pretty much just like a Yorick, it's pretty much just like a Kayle. You can mitigate a lot of that damage if you pair that in with an Exhaust. And I want to see how good Crepe is on Fiddlesticks, because if I'm not mistaken, and I know you're going to correct me on this if I'm wrong, he hasn't played Fiddlesticks just yet this season.
No, the thing is, he has gone for his more standard stuff. You know, the Thresh obviously is a big one for Crepo.
Yeah.
Lulu, he's even played 4 games with Janna up until now. So, you know, Fiddlestick's going to be coming into this one. We'll see what Crepo can do with it. But we've heard from a lot of support players, and we've seen it from the amount of times that he's been picked so far in the summer split, that they're liking him. On the other side, though, Zyra Ash, saw it yesterday. We commented on it already from SK Gaming, kind of taking what Cloud9 did, what's been done in Korea before that as well with the Zyra Ash bottom lane. I don't want to give Cloud9 too much for that one, even though you know, they're doing so well with it and have done so well with it that we saw it first really being used over in Korea. So we'll see it on the other side now for EG, what they're actually going to go with. And they're going to go for Jarvan and Jace. As I said, Froggen has a 100% win ratio with Jace up until now. It's not the same Jace that he has a 100% win ratio with, granted, because of the changes to both him and the tier, but I still think Froggen, as you know, a champion master, he really does master the champions that he brings to the table. I think he can still pull something out with him.
If you've seen him playing on his stream lately with his Smurf, like ranking that up, he's been playing Jace a little bit, and oh god, it's like you never change it against him, because he is just so strong that champion. Just like I said, 100% win ratio, and the poke he pulls off. I mean, I'm thinking back to, I think it was Moscow when they played against Fnatic, and he just destroyed them in that mid lane. Just was pushing up 1v3 into that middle second turret, and not to mention you have that range against. Oh wow. Sorry, that Lee Sin kind of caught me off guard a little bit. So we are going to have, looks like Ocelot on that Zed in the middle lane. And against the Jace with the auto attack range, I mean, you're going to apply some good harass.
So there is the final pick then coming out, the Lee Sin for Hercule bot. Again, a champion which he used to play quite a lot when he was, you know, in these all-French lineups where he really started to make his name, the Cyphers, the Millenniums that he was in before joining SK Gaming. So really interested to see what he brings to the table with that one here today.
I remember you and I were casting, it was EMS or EPS.
You tried to get this story out.
I tried to, yeah,
Jason.
I tried to. Because I didn't remember him playing Lee Sin until I thought of that moment, and we were casting it, and we were just...
It was Millennium. That
it was Millennium? Okay, yeah. And we were just amazed. Like, we were calling him pretty much Diamond Proxy's level of Lee Sin, and he hasn't been able to show just yet. And I remember when he first joined SK, if you think back to Insult Extreme Masters Katowice, he played Shaco. Like, he plays all these like random junglers, but he just never has the opportunity to do it. And Lee Sin, back on one of his, you know, to me, it's a comfort champion for him. It's going to be awesome to see how well he does.
Well, we'll find out here in just a little while there. Evil Geniuses on your screens, looking in concentration mode during setup. The laughs all around, but now, you know, getting down to that serious business time. There's no real joking coming into this one. Everyone concentrated on the prize, which of course is a spot in the playoffs, and you know, then fighting for the world playoffs. That's a stage that everyone wants to be on coming out of the summer split here for this. So we'll see if they're able to pull this one off. One of these teams is going to make a move somewhere in the table, whether that's SK, you know, jumping closer to Gambit's position and maybe more importantly away from Meet Your Makers in the last spot, or Evil Geniuses, who've really turned on the heat in this last couple of weeks and stepped up their game, now above Gambit in the table. Gonna have that opportunity, like I said, to go level on 12 and 11 with Ninjas in Pajamas, leaves them just 2 wins away from Lemon Dogs right at the top.
And everyone was waiting to see Evil Geniuses and SK really step it up, because they've been very quiet this entire season, and there's no better time than right now. And SK, I mean, we talk about Evil Geniuses playing better over the past few weeks, but honestly, so has SK. Ever since, you know, Tenerife, even I believe the week before that, week 5, they've been picking up some much-needed wins. They haven't looked as solid. They've looked a little bit inconsistent, but we know the skill's there. We know the team that they can be, and it looks like they're trying to bring that back, and they're going to go for an invade here, but Shaker will spot him with that flag.
Yeah, SK. No worries here. They are charging on forward over towards the blue buff of EG and putting a ward down there, Nif, just by the curved side bush as he goes through. One over on the bush by the blue buff as well, and SK will make a swift retreat. Over the other side, Crepo has already gone on a warding mission as well, and he'll be trying to get vision on that side of the map for his team.
And remember last game we were talking about what's the point of putting these deep wards if you're not really going to go for an invade and you just pretty much trade the buffs anyways. But right now SK, they go from the blue of Evil Geniuses straight to the red. So they actually kind of are preventing Shaker from like taking his own blue right away. Like they have the vision on it, and they're actually just going to take the vision on the red and then back away too. So that's a lot of wards to commit so early on, and that makes them more vulnerable in that laning phase.
Well, so I think one thing that they've got in mind here is how aggressive Shaka is, and having vision on both sides of the map is obviously going to give them an advantage. Or I say an advantage, certainly the knowledge to create an advantage from that. Obviously, you don't get an instant advantage just by knowing where the opposition's jungler is. But the start will be on the red buff by the looks of things. Lane swaps coming in, as well as we see here 4 Evil Geniuses with both Yellow Pete and Crepo headed up to that top lane. They'll go up against Kevin Shen. That will actually leave Froggen here to try and shot blast away. Oh, it was so close. It was so ridiculously close there for Froggen. If he'd have waited one more auto attack there from Lee Sin, he would have picked up that blue buff. Crazy.
And that's just great awareness out of Froggen, realizing that every jungler does not smite their initial buff anymore. And I swear, if you go into a rank game with like someone like John and you just throw random tornado over the wall, you can steal it away. I've done it before. I've seen it done before. It's been done to me before. But that just shows like he's really adapting to the meta, and he almost pretty much set Hercubot so far behind and gave himself such a huge advantage in that mid lane.
Well, it didn't happen. That's the key point for this game right now. All ifs and buts at this stage, but Froggen at least applying the pressure to Ocelot, who is obviously going to have an advantage over here in this laning phase, just for the fact that he has those ranged attacks which he can use to really put on the pressure to Ocelot's Zed.
Yeah, and I really want to see, can Ocelot have a game like Bjergsen? I mean, we just saw Bjergsen just dominate his lane, dominate the entire game, and I know Ocelot wants to show everyone else he can do that. And I'm happy seeing Ocelot on Assassins again. I mean, he talked about it in his interview, saying he's just playing him because he enjoys it right now. And he played a lot of Orianna in the split so far. Hasn't been too successful on her, but his Kha'Zix, for instance, 3-3 with it. And why not play more Assassin champions if you have the ability to?
Wow,
I'm not sure if that flash was needed.
Not sure if he got the range on him there either way, but now better safe than sorry, I suppose, with that Lee Sin, who at level 3 with a double buff in particular is ridiculously strong, putting out so much damage, hard to get away from. So as I said, better safe than sorry. Don't leave anything to any kind of chance there for that one. In this bottom lane though, we see Candy Panda and Nif already putting down a lot of pressure, getting into that turret. But look at this, Shaka coming in from the side, and SK did just spot him. And the thing is, that's a really easy gap there to hit the grasping root. So Shaka's got to be really on top of things when it comes to sliding in.
Yeah, and he just wants to make sure that Wicked can keep this experience from this wave, because it was a giant wave push up against his own turret. Try and get him a little bit more CS. He does have that door and shield, so he's going to get a little bit more regen. But Froggen right now, he's going to get ganked here.
Yeah, Hercubot coming in from the side. Ocelot putting down the damage. The Q misses, and a hammer will knock Hercubot back. Froggen here did take half of his HP down, or had his half of his HP removed from him. That won't bother him too much. He's started off with the Doran's Blade. Doran's Shield start, of course, for Ocelot, as you'd probably expect, as Froggen is going to get ganked here once again, but Shaka's around, and that stops Hercubot going in. His Q actually hit Shaka as he came out of the brush.
Yeah, there's one thing we haven't touched on too much over these weeks with Shaka coming into the team. We'd always talked about NIP with Maluno and Extinct, how they played together in Curse of You, they have a lot of synergy, they know exactly how each other play. But we haven't talked much about Froggen and how he's been duo queuing with Shaka so much, like even before he joined the team, and they have a lot of synergy, and you see right there where Shaka's trying to make a play happen for Froggen in that middle lane. Unfortunately, not too successful, but it does at least give him his presence.
So let's have a look then here in his top lane, because Kevin has just got taunted up. Can they get in there? Hercubot, you see the damage on towards Crepo. Exhaust put down, but the flash comes in from Hercubot. That's going to be first blood here coming out for Hercubot. A much needed and a very welcome pickup for SK. Meanwhile, Wicked in the bottom lane. Is this Ignite going to be enough to pop the passive?
So
no,
tiny.
not quite. Not quite enough damage there. Nif risking it with the turret hits, and well, Wicked has stayed alive, and he's going to risk it for a biscuit in this bottom lane and stay up there or down there.
He's so tiny right now. But yeah, I mean, if he gets hit by one volley, that is his passive going. Right now, Shaka is coming on the side, and with SK seeing him stick around, like, they have to know something's up, but are they going to push? Are they going to try to go for this dive here?
Well, there is the volley coming in, and there he is getting hit by the plants at the back turret. Going to fix those ones off, as Candy Panda, I'm sure, itching to fire those shots off onto him. But Shaka has actually taken a lot of damage as he's come down to help from this one as well. Wicked needs to get away. He's going to get held in position by those grasping roots, but with that siege minion wave coming through, they're probably safe to actually escape from this if they should want to. Wicked has only just pressed his recall again, which is going to mean a volley and a combo of abilities can come out of Nif as well.
And right now, I mean, they have no vision. Well, they do finally have vision on where Hercubot is on that Lee Sin, and They're sticking around like they want to keep this experience. They don't want to give this up, but that turret is already so low.
Yeah, there's more plants coming out, not quite in range, and Wicked, he's still there. Finally, he's going to get that recall going through. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Kevin also taking a lot of damage from Yellow Pete and Crepo. The turret is similarly low to that one on the bottom.
And we do see Froggen backing away. He has a nice CS lead in that middle, 52-36, builds that tier right away, so he's going for crazy amount of harass, but that is the first turn of the game going over to SK, and EG respawn with one in kind, so we might see AD carry supports just swap lanes entirely, and pretty much stop from going up against each other.
Well, it could end up with everything very even, because we're going to be seeing Zach going into this top lane, but actually Shen's going up there as well, so it's going to actually normalize things somewhat. So we'll have the duos down in the bottom lane with Zach versus Shen up on the top side. SK here is making sure that that blue buff going to be safe. Don't want a repeat of Froggen's very near miss last time.
Yeah, that would. I mean, I really wonder how different the game would be, because something like that early on can snowball a game just like Bjergsen had in the last one with NIP. But he's not going to do that, and instead he's going to be able to pick up his own blue buff here very shortly. And I was just looking at some stats real quick, and Evil Geniuses, they're the fastest dragon-taking team in EU, including the summer split, like combined summer and spring, at 10 minutes and 1 second. And right now, with this swap happening, with Shocker coming down, they might try to go for a dragon. I think pull off a kill, but Hercubot's here to stop it.
Yeah, Hercubot's right in there. Candy Panda's gone superbly low. There's the flash away. Well, you can't flash the second time. Cataclysm helping get the kill. Shaka picked that one up for himself, and despite the presence of Hercubot, SK not able to hold on with the power of that Jarvan.
And that's the downside of playing Ashe. You don't have that escape mechanism on any ability. I mean, you have Hawkshot, which just technically, if you want to go at it like that, is an escape mechanism because you get the vision, but that is a downside.
That's a prevention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but she has the major upside of that arrow, that best initiate spell in the game, and we're gonna see how well he's gonna use it as this game progresses.
Well, yesterday he certainly was on form when it came to landing those crystalline arrows. Right now, Wicked was just having a look to see where Kevin had actually gone on this top side of the map. EG are trying to put the pressure onto that bottom turret, which, you know, duo lanes probably shouldn't see one of them going down without the interference, the backup of one of the junglers.
But right now, though, Yelpi, he does have a BF sword, so he has a lot of AD over Candy Panda. Doesn't have that guaranteed crit every so often, but both AD carry supports, yeah, I mean, you really wouldn't expect a turret or a turret to go down again in that bottom lane after they already lost the bottom one for Evil Geniuses. And I'm waiting for Shaker. Like, we talked about him being an aggressive jungler. To me, he hasn't been that aggressive this game. But then again, he hasn't really had the opportunity to be that aggressive.
Yeah, that's one thing you gotta always think about is where is Shaka's biggest opportunity from this one? Is it on the Shen, who's playing more careful here because of the fact that the tower's down? Is it on the bottom lane that's got the multitude of slows out of Ashe, the roots coming out of Zyra, even Stranglethorns and the arrow even you can use to stop that coming in there. Zed, who's slippery himself. So I think it's hard for Shaka to actually single out a champion right now that he's, you know, can guaranteed a kill with.
Oh, well, SK looks like they're actually going to go for the first dragon. They do have a pink ward. It is going to be spotted by Shaka, though, and it's going to be a very ballsy play by them. This guy should be a very big play if they do take this dragon. A nice amount of gold, but EG, they're coming in from the sides. They want to stop this from happening, and when there's a Fiddlesticks who's level 5, he doesn't have the opportunity to ult into that wave just yet. If he is level 6, that threat will keep SK away from that dragon.
Yeah, and that's why they started to go back down there, try and get him up to level 6 from this one, but everything that he's got, even without that ultimate, could be enough for Shaka. You're going to get engaged on the arrow. Completely whiffed there coming out, and Shaka manages to slide over the wall. Froggen going to be his protection going up towards the top, but he's got to dodge the Q. Not able to dodge the Q, and Hercubot's going to pick up the kill. Puts SK back in the lead.
And Hercubot showing that he can play that Lee Sin's. Wicked gets very low in the top lane.
Yeah, very low, but not going to get his passive pop there again. And almost coming in range for the Vorpal Blade, which I think would have probably finished him off. Either way, that kill onto Shaka takes the smite out of the game and takes the probable likelihood of a steal on Dragon to 0. That's going to go to SK.
Yeah, it's a great job by them. Great job by Hercubot, too, to pick up that champion, which was on his back burner for such a long time and to pretty much play it with style. He has all the kills for his team right now. He's pretty far ahead. And already has the spirit of the ancient golem dub, but now Froggen coming for a gank on a Kevin.
Yep, and you see the damage already with that shock blast. Here comes the hammer. Wicked not at all worried from this one. He knows he's got that passive available. Will get procced actually. Froggen couldn't quite finish off Kevin before that happened, but Wicked, you don't lose anything for having that passive proc. You just got to play a little bit more careful.
And importantly, it
didn't actually use his flash, by the way, there, Wicked. So rather the passive go down.
I think the passive is on a longer or a shorter cooldown. Yeah, it is on a shorter cooldown, if I'm not mistaken. But right now, like Froggen, more importantly, he got a kill. Like he's already winning CS in his lane. He's already made so also has been able to pick a thing up. But Krepo goaded on this.
Oh, this is bad news. But Krepo actually underneath the turret. It's going to be enough damage though. And really, EG managing to combine perfectly. Zyra couldn't actually, or Nif I should really say, couldn't quite manage to snipe off Krepo there with the passive after death. But another great chain of, that was a pun, not even intended. I was going to say chain of events, but of course the chain of corruption coming in from Yellow Pete, followed on by the ultimate out of Krepo, and you just don't escape it. We said it so many times before that as well as amazing kit in terms of crowd control for Fiddlesticks, his ultimate does so much damage without any AP behind you.
Exactly. The base numbers on it are just fantastic, and it allows you to build straight into support items, or even in new 10 Dude X's over in North America, just build a tank out of them from the jungle. And we're going to see how it's going to work, because obviously what's really bad about this, about Fiddlesticks, is if you don't have control of vision around the map. If you can't get that sneaky Fiddlesticks ultimate, if you can't get SK to engage upon you, then counter it with that, then you lose the entire purpose of him to be able to get in there quickly to, fear or silence one or two targets.
So let's have a look at gold here. 1,300 the difference between the two. We're going to see Kevin and Wicked now facing off in this mid lane. Kevin a little bit of ahead of him there in terms of items with that Sunfire Cape already done. Wicked got the works of it. Both obviously going with Dora and Shield. Kevin deciding to go to that Sunfire Cape rather than into the boots that Wicked got earlier on there as well. And there are the statistics for the Shen for Kevin. Picking it up here for his 4th time running. So obviously big favor of that one. And well, it's a Shen at the end of the day. Who's not? Well, who's not a fan of having it in the team, I'll put it that way, because there's a couple of top laners who don't like to actually play the Shen.
I'm not going to say any names, but they're French. So we do have also, though, farming up these double golems. He's trying to keep up with Froggen. Like, Zed, I mean, you're such a strong champion overall, and farm really helps you out quite a bit, but what gives you such a big advantage is getting kills early on. Like, if you can make that happen, it puts you so much ahead of the other person. And right now he's level 11, so he's keeping up with Froggen in terms of that. But right now, EG, they're going for a 4-man push on this turret, and Kevin's the only one to defend it, so they should be able to get that for free.
Hercubot actually coming in from this one, and I was wondering if EG were thinking of maybe jumping on top of Kevin there, because he went down really quickly for what they had going in on top of him. In the end, though, deciding against that. And look at EG, already started to ward deep after taking down that top outer turret. Ocelot's just trying to get as much farm as he can from his top side, and EG going to be setting up a bit of a trap here, and may challenge for the red as well.
And what's really weird, actually, we'll wait a second, as he's going to go in for the steal here. He does have smite.
Oh, and there we go. Use the shock blast with the smite there. Brilliantly done, Shaka and Froggen, and that just shows you the synergy between the two. Communication already down. They've played so much solo queue together, as he said before, even Shaka came into the EG team itself, and that's the kind of thing you can do if you know how you're playing with your teammates.
Yeah, exactly, and one great thing about them taking that top tier 1 turret is the fact that they can contest the red buffs like that, because if you look at SK's lineup, a red buff to them is worth way more than a blue buff, and by taking that away constantly, which they should be able to do since they have the timer on it now, you're really hurt them. You're going to hurt Ocelot quite a bit, who kind of maybe will need it, but Kenny Panda, he obviously could use the extra damage too.
Yeah, as energy champions, which do still benefit obviously from the blue buff itself, but the red buff, as you said, is going to be more crucial, as we are going to see the arrow coming out here onto Wicked. He's going to use Let's Bounce, but he gets pretty much locked up. Stranglethorn's not able to hold him in place, and he lost about half of his health from that, which honestly, for those ultimates, is not really what you're looking for.
Well, the thing is, he would have died, but he did something amazing. He flashed ahead of Hercubot. Like, he realized what Hercubot was trying to do, trying to kick him back into his team, and he flashed over, and Hercubot was just a little bit too late, or Wicked was just a little bit too quick, and that honestly prevented his death. And he lost a lot of cooldowns, but at this stage of the game, I mean, just staying alive is the big thing, especially when dragons come up in a minute.
Yeah. 1 minute for that one as a blast comes through. Froggen, who is ahead of Ocelot in the farm, got brutalized in there, got that man immune as well, which, you know, obviously is going to be stacking up a little bit easier than just having that tier in there singly. And he's just going to stay in this mid lane because he's such a champion that you can't leave alone in that mid lane because he can push those minion waves out so quick and then do a lot of damage to your turret very fast.
Yeah, he can. With that W in his ranged form. Right now, EG, they're setting up for a kill on a Kevin here. If they get this, they have a free dragon right after it. Kevin's got to be a little careful. He's very tanky, but it's all about that Sunfire cape when you have Krepo doing so much and you have the CC. But here comes Froggen from the side.
Here we go. They're going to go for it. Where is the Chain of Corruption? Actually, Kevin trying to get away. Chain of Corruption is going to land. Kevin is going to burst through that one, but is he going to get away from all the damage? Krepo has to flash out in the end. And EG pick up another one with that exact combo that we were talking about earlier. There's the Hawk Shot coming down. Arrow's going to come off cooldown in a sec. Krepo needs to be shielded from it in the end. Candy Panda decided not going to be worth it.
Yeah, and that dive, I mean, it worked out well because they got the kill, but it could have gone a little bit cleaner because they might have been able to pick up an objective right after that. But either way, a kill is a kill at this point. You're up 4-2 as Evil Geniuses. You're down gold right now, but at this stage of the game, that's not that much. And right now, as long as you're holding Ocelot back a little bit, who has actually been free farming quite a bit, so he has that potential to become very deadly very quickly if you don't keep him in check like you need to do. And EG, I mean, they tried 1 or 2 ganks on a middle, but actually they didn't even gank him. Yeah, they tried 1 gank middle, but that was it. And right now you're seeing Froggen just tear through that turret with Yellow Pete.
Yeah, Hercubot actually going to kick Froggen back here. Shen going to come down with Stan United. There's a taunt under the turret to get that turret damage as well. Froggen trying to speed away, but the rest of SK coming around the side. Froggen flashes over. He's still alive, but you have to wonder for how long here. Can he get rid of Hercubot? Of course not. 1 auto attack will finish off. Shaka in the meantime doing damage to mid turret. He's going to get caught out by Ocelot and Candy Panda as well.
Oh, wow, he's actually getting very low here.
Yeah, Arrow coming in as well. The Death Mark going down and a flash over the top. He's revealed. Ocelot going to give chase to him. There is the Blade of the Ruin King trying to hold him back, but he slides away. But where you going to go? There's turrets all around you. And he's surely going to go down. No, he's trying to get those seconds to tick away from him. He's just put the shield on, which basically gave Ocelot the kill, even if he wasn't going to be next. He would have taken more. As Nif going to get caught out of Dragon as well. There's Let's Bounce and Chain of Corruption, but they're very tanky members here for SK. As Hercubot dashes through onto Yellow Pete. Barrier used. Kevin goes very low. Look at Krepo. He's at the back there doing decent damage to them as well, but in the end, they have to back off, and that will end with a 2 for 2.
I mean, if you want to count Froggen going in there too, it was a 2 for 3,
yeah.
and then Dragon going down as well over for SK, so they picked up a nice little bit of chunk, or a nice chunk of gold off of that. And Shaka, yeah, he's like trying to kite Ocelot, but you can't really kite his Zed too well, and he's dead in the end. But that's Hercubot now, 3-0-1. We talk about kill spread quite a bit, and he has pretty much all the kills on his hands. And you look over at EG side, they have him split across the team as every member at least has 1 kill. And right now, I mean, Lee said he does fall off late game. He's pretty much only used for that initiate, or the second initiate after the Ash arrow. And I'm curious, is he going to build a little bit more damage or just go straight tanky? And with the items that he has, looks like he will go for that Arena Bulwark. Here comes Krepo.
They're going in straight on towards Krepo, and Candy Panda's a dead man. There were the Stranglethorns coming down. Turret focusing Krepo, but teammates can actually kill that off before it could even get close to getting the killing blows in there. And again, we see that whole combo. Froggen going to take down this bottom outer turret as well with that attack speed steroid on his W to finish that one off. Ocelot going to reply on the top.
That's going to be so frustrating as Candy Panda because Krepo just feared him, then ulted in his face. Like, he ulted right in front of him and just said there's nothing he can do about it. Just take it, man. You're going to die. And he ended up happening.
It was actually grasping rooted as well for pretty much the entire time until the jump actually came in from it. So, sad times really coming out there for SK, but not easy to hold the fiddlesticks down, even when he's doing it in plain sight of you. Usually he's just flying over a wall and you just scream and run away, but this time not quite able to do the same.
I've heard you do that in the office before, when fiddlesticks goes over the wall.
I run away from my PC though, that's the problem. Fiddlesticks is that scary of a, I was going to say man, but he's more of a scarecrow, isn't he?
It's a stick. Yeah, no, Scarecrow, yeah. So we do have Blue going over to Froggen right now. He's 2-1. He's trying to maintain that 100% win record right now on him right now. And Krepo, we talked about earlier, like a Fiddlesticks, the downside is that if you don't have control of vision around the map, the ults that you're going to use are kind of going to be caught and stopped. But with that Oracle, it's going to help facilitate that. And right now, Nif doesn't have one himself. I had to check just to make sure, because I was pretty sure he didn't have one.
Yeah, not got one on there right now. And actually, he's the one running the GP10 at this point.
So because that GP10, even though he didn't get kills in lane, really got 2 assists, it actually sets him behind a little bit. But as the game goes on, as we get later on in, it's going to pretty much take over and give him a little bit more of an advantage. But it's all about who can get the early advantage right now for EG. They're trying to pretty much take it just from the beginning. And with a Fiddlesticks, I mean, I want to say you're more impactful earlier in the game because of your ultimate, unless you build a little bit more damage, but we're going to see how Krepo builds.
This bottom lane now, Wicked with that Sunfire Cape on. He's going to have Froggen coming in. Actually, Ocelot, he's going to go on to Froggen. Shen coming in as well.
Wow.
Ocelot going to flash to the back, and Froggen is so very low. Wicked dive bombs him, and Kevin gets the kill onto Froggen at the top. And that Zach just took a massive arc there, like into the sky, and then just dumped straight down. I mean, good stuff to watch.
I think that's the dunk. Like you're talking about Jarvan dunking or Master Yi dunking, Zach just dunked.
That was a beast of a move. Right now, though, Shaka is 1 versus 3 here in the middle. Rest of EG coming to make sure that they don't lose that outer turret. It is 3-2 to turrets in favor of EG, with the difference being that outer middle.
And right now, Yellow Pete, he's pulling a little bit of Genja, being really quiet the past couple of minutes here. Just in there pushing that top lane, trying to farm. He's going to hit. Oh, he's going to hit with an Ash Arrow.
Yeah, but the problem is they're not in that immediate area to really get in onto him. Yeah, he's going to get slowed there coming out there. He's the Chain of Corruption. It's not going to spread to Candy Panda, who's going to get 1 Q onto him, and that pretty much spells death. There is the taunt coming down as well. And wow, that was really, really close. The minions actually are still having a go here. Another couple coming through. Not going to be quite enough to finish off. But that was well done by Yellow Pete, considering the fact that it was 2 versus 1. And it was all, that's the thing about Ash as well, that you get hit by the arrow, you think there's no one near me. It's such a long stun. It takes a while for us here. But when you actually get hit with it yourself, it feels like about 5 seconds longer than it actually is. And then you get hit with a volley, and as soon as you're in range for a Q, you pretty much say goodnight against Ash.
Yeah, you're like, yep, I'm dead. Might as well fight it out. And like you were saying, he almost actually won that fight against Candy Panda, except that Infidia's just kind of held out a little bit more than his did. And Krepo, with this Oracle, I have to say, he's cleaned out a lot of wards. He's really given them a lot of control. He's missing a couple right now because Nist's been doing a fantastic job at replenishing them over and over. And you might look at it this way. Look at the Philo Stone. It didn't give an early advantage for an early Oracle, but it's allowing him to keep refreshing this ward coverage. And there's the Oracle now. So got like 3-4 minutes later than Krepo, but they haven't really been able to make any big plays off of the Oracle that EG had early on.
And picked himself up an extra pink ward in there with that one, so it's probably going to go down to a high priority target. Dragon coming up in 30 seconds or so probably is that target, as Ocelot waits in the brush.
Cue the Jaws theme. Ah,
stalking his prey. It's kind of like a mosquito stalking an elephant at that point, though. Wicked is pretty tanky now with that frozen heart in as well.
Just trying to think about that analogy. Just like, Yeah, no, it works though. It's like, I mean, there's no way he's going to take him down with that Sunfire Cape, with the Frozen Heart on top of that. That's too much armor for Ocelot to deal with, unless he has that last Whisper, which he's still currently building right now. And EG, they're starting to group up here. They want to force a fight, and right now SK doesn't have too much vision. Obviously, that Q's going to help him out with that. And I believe, yeah, Dragon is up right now, so they want to contest this. They want to be able to take this first Dragon for themselves.
I don't think it's going to be able to happen for them, though. Krepo has cleared pretty much both of these routes in towards that blue, in towards the Dragon now, except the blue buff side, which actually is going to be finished off right now. So the thing is, they've got complete vision control here, EG. SK are going to be flying blind, and from what their teammates can see, as Hercubot's going to go in there, we are going to see Shen joining the party as a Cataclysm is quite good. Chain of Corruption comes in, Yellow Pete and Candy Panda are fighting at the top. Ocelot going on towards Froggen, he gets the kill, but Ocelot will die here to Shaka. Meanwhile, on the top side, we did see Yellow Pete go down. Krepo died as well. Kevin here being focused by Wicked, but he's got so many men attacking him. Is he going to get away? Well, he's going to get his passive propped, and SK are trying to do it all over the wall.
They got
one more bit.
Sunfire Cape ticking.
There we go.
Oh, Captain stealing it away, waiting for that. But that was a really interesting fight. So EG, they got Dragon. Good job, guys. But you lost 4 members, and SK only lost 1. So in the end, SK pretty much coming out ahead in that. And it was a really interesting fight, too, because Krepo, actually, no, let's start with Nif. He got an amazing ultimate off. That Strangle Thorns locked down Evil Geniuses from leaving that pit and just kept him out of the fight for a long time. Krepo got knocked up, so he wasn't able to use his ultimate anytime. Then he actually flashed away to get out of range so he could find the ulti. and then Yellow Pete dodged the arrow and it hit him instead. So it locked him down for a little bit longer. Then he finally used it at about a 5th life and just sat there on the main tanks with Hercubot and Kevin. Unfortunately, wasn't able to kill them, but you know, great fight by SK to really space them out and take advantage of their whole, you know, composition.
So let's have a look at some of the items coming in. SK have got double Runic Bulwark already finished into this one. On the other side, just the Aegis so far with Shaka, which he's doing a red buff right now. I think he might have a decent amount of cash to actually be headed home with. Or just 350, so that's going to take a little while anyway. So he obviously just went in there a few seconds ago and actually, yeah, he did. 26 minutes in, so he's only had that for 50 seconds right now. So he's going to be a little bit behind when it comes to picking up that Runic Bulwark.
I'm looking at Shaka's items, and he has the No Magic Mantle to build into Runic Bulwark, but why would you build that right now? I'm looking at the other team because, you know, Kevin does obviously do a little bit of magic damage, but you're against pretty much a full AD team. So you could probably leave it at Aegis, go for another route, build another item, then come back to Runic Bulwark if you want to in the end. But obviously, I mean, he's a much better player than I am, and his story actually going from a 700 ELO player to 2300 in such a short amount of time is pretty awesome.
There's hope for us all, apparently. Although I think duo with Froggen might have helped out on that front as well. So Quicksilver Sash here added up for Froggen. Speaking of the devil, also got that last Whisper and the Muramana Brutalizer from earlier on. Man immune. I should probably not get too far ahead of that one. On the other side, pretty much similar there for Ocelot, as we are going to see him now becoming the focus of being stalked as that bottom lane of EG are moving in with Wicked as well. The Zaku is now significantly bigger than earlier on when he was in trouble, but here comes Shen. Yellow Pete down to half. There's a death mark going out. Won't quite finish off though with the use of the barrier, as well as Ocelot had the chain of corruption spreading over to him. Wicked here trying to blast Ocelot down. Ocelot is going very, very low. Wicked got vision of him. Let's see if he can dunk him down one more time. No, it was so close to connecting. He's going to keep going for this one though. He's done a good job, but he has to back away because SK are actually pushing the top lane down and have taken the inner turret.
And look what we're seeing. This is like an exact replica of what we saw in that last game with the NIP. It was Mimer and Bjergsen then, now it's Kevin and Ocelot pretty much two-man grouping together and stopping Evo Genesis from making some plays happen. Now they're going to get an inhibitor turret for free, I think. Well, or at least get it really low.
Shaka's trying to hold them back from this one as Hercubot just scoots out to Nif as the knock-up almost connected to him halfway through from that one. Wicked now is going to finally get himself home. Already had it in that Haunting Guise, which I say already, he just literally picked up as he came back with that one. So talked about most of the items here, but not quite the AD carries right now. So let's have a look at them. Yellow Pete starting off here with Varus, got the Bloodthirst, the Zeal, and a last Whisper over on the other side, comparing that to a Negatron Cloak coming out for Candy Pandas. Wicked and Ocelot again going to go head-to-head in this one. Deathmark and a full combo gets Wicked down to half HP. I can now finally get back to Candy Pan, who's just finished off from that Negatron Cloak, of course, that Quicksilver Sash.
Yeah, so Ashe is a very interesting champion. I mean, you're mostly prioritized just for your Initiate. You do a lot of damage. You have the potential to kite really well and to chase, but you don't need to build full damage right away. It's kind of like a Vayne where, you know, you build your Blade of the Rune King Fan Answer, or you just go Blade of the Rune King, then like a defensive item if you do need it. Wicked actually going to get very low here. Ocelot, you might be able to pick up the kill. Yeah,
he's going to keep going. The Deathmark, of course, using that last encounter between them, so decided not to go in for that one, not to carry on through that one. But yes, he's got a lot of armor as well there as well, so as well. Great English skills, Joe. So,
I said thick and thin, so don't worry.
No, you said thick and fast.
Thick and fast.
Thick and
yeah,
fast.
there
no,
you
go.
said
thick and thin.
Yeah.
You're right, it's thick and fast. Let's get away from this topic and on to the ward control, because that's what both teams are fighting for right now. A lot of it being doing around Baron, as there comes Wicked flying through the air again on towards Ocelot. He's out the way and says, stop split pushing already, will you, Ocelot? It's getting a little bit boring for me. Problem is, Wicked can just about push him away and hold on, but can't really stay around long enough to actually fight him, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he can 1v1 him, but in the meantime, we do have a potential engage here.
Yeah, this is going to be the Cataclysm going down onto 2. EG need to catch up with this one as Hercubot and Kevin coming in from the side of this one. Froggen is going to finish off Nif, but can the rest of the team do this? Candy Panda comes in, Crepo's low, Shaka's trying to get away, but he's perma-slowed from Candy Panda. He's going to be able to slide over the wall. Q, not needed. He's going to flash here, Hercubot, for this one. There is the Q connecting, and it's really hard to get away from Elysian. He's going to stick to you, and there is Ocelot coming up from the bottom lane. Candy Panda has killed Froggen. Shaka's going down. Hercubot gets that one. He's now dominating at 6-0-5.
Good guy Shaka runs long enough and stays alive long enough to give everyone an assist on SKC right there as Ocelot came in. But great play of SK right there. Even though they got separated and engaged upon by Shaka, all they lost was Nif. All they lost was that support, and they're going to get a Baron off this. They got 4 kills because Wicked was bot lane as Ocelot just started roaming around really quickly. And SK, I mean, you got to give them credit. This is a much needed victory for them, and they're playing like they want it.
Wicked did start to come up there as though he was going to be the hero that Elastic Slingshot drive-bys. Well, he's obviously got no smite, so can't really do that on his way through either. So would have been a lot less impressive than I somehow had imagined in my head. And well, he got hook-shotted out and then decided to move away. So a great pickup here for SK Gaming. That will put them 8,000 gold in the lead from this one.
And really, you got to give Ocelot a lot of credit. Like, the pressure he's applying with this Zed, with this Assassin, is kind of unlike anything he's done before. Well, not before, but what I'm trying to say is like, he hasn't been as effective in other games as he's been with these Assassins. And he's really proven that with this split pushing with this Zed, like he's really strong player. Like, I don't know, it's been kind of questioned a lot lately, but he's proven it to everyone that he can start playing Assassins a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue that.
Well, luckily for him, Bjergsen made a tutorial video of how to play Zed again their earlier game against Meet Your Maker, so I'm sure you watched that one for a few tips as well. As we are going to see EG now going in on towards Kevin. Hercubot is going to be coming around the side from this one, but Shaka is as well as Crepo jumps out of the shadows, manages to get a kill there as Wicked going to get kicked back into the rest of SK. There's the Strangled Thorns, which knocks 2 of them up into the air. Wicked going so low, but he's so incredibly tanky that they can actually get him away. There's the arrow coming through, will actually slow everyone thanks to the splash from it, and the fight for blue buff is on. I cannot see who took that one in the end. I think it was Shaka that actually got it, and they are going to be backing away now. So overall, not too bad for EG, manages to get a kill, but what's bad for them is that Ocelot has been split pushing again, and he's managing to now go on towards the inhibitor, and EG is still sticking around to fight.
Yeah, SK's just not trying to not let them back away right now. They keep chasing, running away. He got the inhibitor for free and the inhibitor turret. Phenomenal play out of Ocelot to really recognize what was happening. And now SK, if they don't stop him, they're going to get a free dragon anyways.
Well, Wicked has gone back, which we've seen how Wicked and Ocelot's interactions have really gone there. The dragon here is started by SK Gaming. Well, Yellow Pete just using the piercing arrow to check, even though he was outside of it. Is Crepo going to get caught in the grasping roots? This could be dangerous. Shane coming down with the Stand United as Froggen dives into the middle. Well, look how quickly he goes down. Double kill. This is going to be another one coming out. Shen picks that one up, and Ocelot finishes off with a death mark onto Yellow Pete. And that is 4 men down. After that, well, it was a 5v4 as well in the end, with Ocelot coming around to mop up. Wicked was left with the task of clearing base, but SK there, if you talk about split pushing, that was just how you do it. That was a real 101 as they just go over the wall, taking the sneaky route into the base.
Are they going for the win?
I think they might be.
Oh, wow. This is a very ballsy play, but it's going to work out for
There's
SK.
20 seconds on the clock here, and SK, with that movement, the mobility that they've got coming through the walls here, they're going to go straight for it. Wicked dives in them, but I'm not sure that he's going to be able to hold on. 2 seconds for Crepo to come up. He's now back in play, but both Nexus turrets are down. They're going to go for this one. They're going to try and finish off the game. Nexus going very low. Jarvan spawned, but SK Gaming able to finish off before EG spawn back into the game. And that will be a massive victory, a massively important one in the grand scheme of things for SK. They move away from MYM at the bottom. They move towards the likes of Gambit, EG, Ninjas in Pajamas, who are all at 11 or 12 wins in Ninjas in Pajamas case. They've just tightened things up here in the mid-table even further.
Wow, just wow. I mean, I did not expect them to finish the game like that, and I was going to say, you know, Evil Geniuses, the engage that they pulled off on SK, realizing they had a 5-on-4 situation. It was a very ballsy play, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for them as they got turned around. But just awesome. That split push, just that Zed in general, wasn't too effective early game. He really became that force to be reckoned with as the game progressed, where no one could really 1v1 him anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny that we had this interview with him where he said that he wants to play more of this style of champion and do more of that kind of thing, the assassin role, and they did it so well. I mean, that last fight, if you look at that one, the way he was split pushing top, they'd won the fight, stopped them recalling down by the dragon, taken the dragon, and by the time they actually got back into a fight, Ocelot was there to make it a 5 versus 4 and finish off. Just where's this coordination been in this play from SK all season? Because that kind of form, they could beat anyone in the league.
Maybe it's playing champions they enjoy. I mean, just like I said, Ocelot said in an interview, likes to play champions like this. Hercubot, going back to his roots with Lee Sin. Kevin, I mean, I think he's one of the few people that actually enjoys playing Shen, because he did a great job, 7-4 and 11 he finished off. And then Candy Panda going back to his roots as well. And then I was going to say Nif going back to his roots, which has been really corny because he's playing Zyra, but you know what I mean.
Good one, Jason. I enjoyed that one. That was a good one. Even if it wasn't intentional. Maybe. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, as you said,
me that one.
That just left that one on a piece of paper, especially for us in Europe. But that makes the story obviously better for SK Gaming, but a little bit more woeful for MYM as well.
Yeah.
Who we saw lose to Ninjas in Pajamas earlier on. They're now quite solidly in that last position. It's almost a positive spin on something that's not so great for one of these teams. But the likelihood is that Meet Your Makers now have to put in such an incredible final play day, or I say play day, obviously final 5 games. They pretty much have to go 5-0, which they've not been far away from before. They had a 4-1 in week 1, let's not forget. So it's not impossible.
And you know what's scary about that is? They can play like there's no tomorrow with those 5 games. They realize we have to win every single one. So just go crazy on every single one of those. And every team that's up against them has to really, you know, take a step back and be prepared for this, because they can catch you off guard. We've seen them do it before, and I'm sure they've got another trick up their sleeves.
Well, we'll find that out in week 9. For now, though, we're going to head over to Demon and Quick Shot for a look back at the key plays of that final game.
Thank you very much, Joe and Jason. And well, what a game. Another team that can't manage to pick up the perfect weekend, and SK managed to break the hearts of all the EG fans out there. So it all started out effectively from the picks and bans, and immediately we spotted a few things.
Yeah, so first of all, Crepo picked Fiddlesticks for the first time in the LCS, and I was lucky enough to talk to Snoopy a little bit about it. It's actually a champion he hasn't played all that often, but it's something that as a team they've been discussing and strategizing about. And against the likes of a Zed, it's actually a very good pick, because once Zed throws himself into a team fight, you just fear him and then silence him, so he can't get his combo off, he can't get the rest of his abilities off and the burst combo off. So I really like that pick. It just never really came to fruition.
And the main problem was they didn't really get many team fights. It was all, it was like guerrilla warfare.
It really was. Early on, SK and EG, they both traded a couple of kills. They were finding one another out in the open, in the river, up in the top lane, finding different ways to pick up kills. And, you know, Crepo and Yellow Pete had a couple of good engagements, Chain of Corruption plus the Crow Storm, onto the bottom lane of SK, but it wasn't really full-blown fights until about a 16-7-minute Dragon. At which point, EG lost all of their players. They did get the Dragon, but they got aced in reply. And it just gave SK so much gold to work with.
And what did we make about the overall team comp that SK ran? I mean, is there anything new that we saw there that made me thinking, gives them that glimmer of hope? Because obviously they're still going to be in that 7th position. They're fighting to get out of it. We're going to have Super Week, week 9. It's going to be everything was really up for grabs. 5 matches. We've just seen nobody's gone 3-0 this week, as far as I can remember.
Pretty sure nobody's gone 3-0.
I was trying to think of it just before I came out here. There's got a number of 2-1s, but again, it leads it wide open. Everyone can beat everyone.
The thing that I think we can take away from this particular game is that SK had very good individual performances. Kevin did fantastically on Shen.
Yeah.
We've seen Hercubot on Lee Sin. He's unkilled in that matchup, 8-0-7. Pretty much everywhere he looked for a kill, he was able to find it. And very, very importantly, Ocelot got into a powerful position, and he maintained that power position. Once he was picking up kills, he started split pushing. Once he started split pushing, nobody could deal with him. Even Zac with the Frozen Heart and a Sunfire Cape couldn't control the AD damage of Zed. So it was good individual performances, and I think if they can channel that same performance in Super Week, they can probably string together a few more wins.
And I think obviously Joe and Jason have become experts on Zed after the last few matches because they've seen some pretty impressive play. That is it from here on the analysis desk. We are going to go over to Shoxo, who is standing by with Candy Panda.
Thanks very much, Dima, and congratulations, Candy Panda, with that victory over EG. What was the plan going into this one? Because you guys, of course, came off a loss versus them last week.
So in the picks and bans versus EG, you always have to take into account that they play with Shaker or Snoopy. So that's a real challenge for them because you have to plan for both. And that's what we focused on. And of course the rest too, but Shaker Snoopy is like the biggest point. And I think we managed it well.
Yeah, tell me about those picks and bans. And going for the Ashe Zyra again in the bottom lane. And then I think for their side, the only unusual picks there, maybe Fiddlesticks for you guys to go up against, because it's not something Crepo usually plays or plays all that often. How much of a distorting factor was that?
Well, the Ashe Zyra first. We tried it in scrims because we obviously scout other scenes. We scout the Koreans, the Chinese, and the NA scene. So we saw the Zyra Ashe from Cloud9, obviously, and we tried it out in scrims, and it worked really well. And then, sorry, what was the other part?
The Fiddlesticks.
Oh, right, the Fiddlesticks. Yeah. So when we saw it, we thought about our picks, Zyra Ashe, and for us, it was no problem. So we just picked Zyra Ashe and tried to play the lane as good as we can.
Okay, and then we saw Hercubot on Lee Sin, not something he plays that often in the LCS, and then the Zed that's supposed to rely on early kills. It didn't quite get them. So how did you move into the later game?
So with Lee Sin, of course you want to get the early kills, but we didn't get it. But we had the Zyra and the Ashe, which is really good to catch people off, especially since they had Varus with no cleanse and Jace with no cleanse. So we just did that in the mid game.
All right, and tell me also about that dragon fight, because that was kind of game-changing, where EG got the dragon, but you managed to ace them.
Sorry. So in the dragon fight, we were kind of even at that point, but I managed to come from the side and zone Yellow Pete really well that fight, and my teammates just cleaned up the others. So it was a really good fight and was kind of game-changing, yeah.
So this victory, of course, is so important for you guys with Gamescom in mind, of course, and you want to make those playoffs. And we saw the entire organization coming out here today. So tell us how you head into Super Weekend and how you head into now the preparation going up against that, how important this is.
I mean, Alex, our manager, and Alex, our CEO, and Minzig, our manager, always come every week to support us, which is really nice. And for the playoffs now, or for the Super Week as well, we're just going to take everything we learned this season, or the split, and take it into the last week to improve as much as you can. Especially since we have 7 days instead of 5 days, since the Super Week starts at the Monday, I believe. So we're just gonna try our best in those 7 days.
All right, thank you very much, and congratulations once again.
Thanks.
And as for us, it's time to check in with Joe and Jason once more to guide us through today's results and standings.
Thanks a lot, Shock. So, a brilliant day we've had here, Jason. I think we got the better end of the stick here of the 3 games. Those last 3 were literally incredible stuff with a lot of Zed.
I like it. Keep bringing me the Zed, guys. I love that champion. Not playing it, or against it, but seeing it because you can do so many different things. Like these really high skill cap champions that are really mechanical. You saw Bjergsen, just his ability to dodge things and really make some plays happen by putting a living shadow down, running away, making the team think, oh, he's gone, and he just zips back in and just catches off guard. Ocelot as well was doing a phenomenal job. Honestly, I like seeing champions like that, and just like you said, fantastic games across the board.
Well, let's have a look back at some of the results for today then. Starting off, of course, we had Fnatic versus Evil Geniuses, where EG picked up another solid victory to start off the day. Gambit versus NIP came up next. And there we saw an incredible Ninjas in Pajamas as well. They were really on form today. Obviously going 2-0 for the day. Then third game, Fnatic versus Alternate, where Fnatic managed to pick up the win. An Alternate that weren't really looking totally in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And of course, the game following that was Lemondogs versus Gambit, where Gambit, fortunately, continuing their loss streak 0-3 for the weekend, but Lemondogs taking that much, well, it wasn't even much needed, but that luxury win to set themselves even further apart from everyone else on the standings. And of course, NIP versus Mutual Makers, you saw that game with Bjergsen just stomping Mutual Makers, unfortunately, for Mutual Makers in that game. And of course, we just rounded out the day with EG versus SK, where SK, I mean, the plays they pulled off, like the end. I did not expect them to just finish the game like that. They were running up middle. I'm just like, why is everyone hopping over? Oh, they're going to finish the game.
I didn't expect it either, so you weren't alone with that one. That's not something that I expected from SK, but I think that's, you know, just a tiny bit of a change in some things that we've seen. Probably a couple of weeks ago, they would have ran back maybe and gone for more towers from that, gone for Baron, whatever. But that's a bit of a change. Maybe something to look forward to when we hit our final week 9. But let's have a look at the standings then and see just how redonkulously close they are at this point. But the good thing is for us, I suppose, we've got some separated groups now with Lemon Dogs at the top. I want to say clearly, but it's really not all that clearly.
Yeah.
14 for 9, they're up there. Alternate and Fnatic then tied for second with 13 wins, 10 losses. Then you've got Ninjas in Pajamas, who have got a solid 4th position at 12 wins, 11. Then you've got EG and Gambit tied at 11 for 12. SK just behind them, but 2 wins ahead of Meet Your Makers at 10 for 13. And as we said, Meet Your Makers, they pretty much need a perfect week 9.
And just to have 3 of the 4 teams, or 3 of the 4 teams that carried over, well, I guess 3 of the 5, I guess technically, that carried over from the spring split in the bottom half of the standings is crazy. And you know, this is week 9. This is the last week. They're going to have a lot more time prepared for this week. 5 games to go for each team. Like, this is sink or swim time. Like, every team, I can pretty much guarantee, is not going to be taking an hour off of each day and maybe just a sleep. Maybe just 1 hour of sleep because they're going to be practicing. Like, this is the moment. This is the moment you were waiting for. You want to get into playoffs. You want to get into those world finals, and you have to do it right here. You have to win a large portion of your games because you realize, since the standings are so close, you need every single win you can get.
Well, the good thing for the teams is that they are going to have a bit of extra time this weekend because next weekend obviously is off. Then the weekend after that, we'll be moving into a final week 9. So make sure you don't forget that one. Set every reminder that you've got available to you because that Super Week is going to be absolutely cracking. We're going to head over to Shox, though, for some final thoughts here in week 8.
Thanks, guys. An amazing weekend of games here once again in Cologne. And the Lemon Dogs are first for now. But the question is, how long will they stay first? Of course, the league will be quiet for a week. But on Wednesday, August 14th, the LCS will be back with an epic Super Week. And they will be starting out with CLG versus Coast, followed by Dignitas versus Curse, and tons more action. It all starts at 1 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Central European summertime. And then on August 15th, the European LCS returns with 20 huge games of our own. The EU Super Week kicks off with Alternate versus SK, followed by EG versus Ninjas in Pajamas, and also tons more action coming after that. You can catch all of that with action starting with 8 games on Thursday, August 15th at 5 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Central European summertime. But you won't have to wait until Super Week for more League of Legends action, because you can head over to twitch.tv/wellplayed right now to see the PAX promotion tournament qualifier. So on behalf of everybody here in the studio, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you at Super Week.